Hi everyone, today I am going to be brave and I am going to do some of this picture here, which is this figure. Now just to start with, this is from Seasons by Hanna Karlzon. I'm not sure if it's in her Grains of Gold book. This one is, but there's a different one opposite in there. I haven't had a thorough look, but this is the one that I've chosen just because someone did say to me that they wanted me to do the one opposite here, and I think they meant in this book. So we'll make a start. I might not do the whole page in a tutorial, there's a lot going on, and I thought we're going to start with the face, and I'm going to show you how I approach the skin tones, and hopefully it'll be useful for you. Now I've done tutorials from a few different people and I've sort of adapted a little bit, and often with the face for me it's a bit of an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. I'm using Prismacolor. Now, I often use Prisma for faces, I find it easier. This is beige. Now, I tend to start with beige. Let's come in a bit closer so we can just see the face. Now, there we go. Now, beige is not a natural skin tone. It's a little bit too brown, but I find it makes a nice base colour, to be honest. So that's what I do. And I just put down a layer, a reasonably even layer. I don't worry about where it might be shadowy and where it might not be at this particular point in time. I just put down, as I say, a fairly even layer. Don't worry too much because we're going to be adding lots of layers of other colours as well. However, if you want to just do one colour for your skin tone and you don't want to layer it too much, and I'm just going to ignore those stars and colour over them. I'm going to keep it simple. If you just want to do one, then don't do beige. It's not a good sort of... I would do a peach or a light peach from the Prisma. Those are quite good standalone skin colours. If you're doing a pale skin tone, that's what we're doing. I'm doing today. I did yesterday actually do a dark skin tone picture, which I was rather pleased with, but that's not my aim. So I was going around that star. I'm just going to go over it. With these stars, I'm never quite sure what to do with that sort of thing. Is it a tattoo? You can just leave it. I'm trying to not have too many lines showing there. Is it something that's stuck on the face, little stickers, makeup, or is it just magic or something, I don't know. So what I tend to do is just decide at the end. I might colour over them in a gold metallic pen. I might just leave them completely as they are. That tends to be the only options really. I don't do much else with them. Now a little tip while I'm just colouring away is when you do the eyes, never colour the centre part last, because the sort of black bit in the middle. I don't know if you've ever done this yourself, but if you do the coloured iris first and leave that bit white, it looks really weird. Obviously you would eventually colour it black, I'm assuming, but it just looks so strange. Now while I'm colouring, I can talk to you about the shape of the face. Now to make, faces aren't flat, and Hannah doesn't draw too much detail on here, so we've got the bit bottom of the nose, but we don't know, and that line, so we sort of have to guess where our nose goes. We've got the chin tends to stick out here, and there's a dip here and things like that, so we have to sort of think about that as we're colouring in a minute. But we'll just finish this colour. Now that's really messy and just our base, and that's just where I get started. Okay, so you'd never want to leave it like this. My next colour tends to be Nectar, if I can find it. This is from a Chris Cheng video. Her second colour was Nectar. Now it seems really dark, but it's okay. Because we're using Prismas, we can go over the top with a lighter tone and sort of hide what we've done. So I tend to draw here. Now thinking about where's the chin going to be sticking out, so I'm going to really lightly draw a circle there and a line there like that. So there's a bit of drawing, which I don't draw, so that's sort of marking out that area. Now also here under the nose, there's going to be a dipped in bit there, and yeah, along here we can very lightly just try and shape our nose. What I tend to do is try and join it there to the crease in the eye. So there we go, we've got a little bit of shape, so that will guide us now. I'm going to go back down to the, actually I'm going to do a bit on the neck, so a bit of darker here. What I tend to do with the neck is make it a little bit dark on the edges and lighter to the middle to give it a bit of shape. But if we look at this, because she's not completely forward on, need to think about that. I think the lightest part of the neck might be here, not right in the middle. So I'm just going to bring this colour across a bit more. Now this is very red, but we're going to go over the top of it with some peach in a bit, and it tones it down. This is the point where I worry and I look at what I've done and I think that looks awful, and once I've added a bit more, it works and comes together. So it's just, I get a bit scared and start thinking I've ruined it, it's terrible. But as I say, it comes together. So I'm just bringing some colour up here like this. Now I'm going to fill in this bit, put a bit of shadow around here, and then here, look, this is going to be darker, sort of across here a little bit like that, and across here a little bit like that, and around there. I need to think about the way she's looking. I think that's okay. Under here, because this bit of skin, if you think about the eye, this bit tends to bulge a bit over this, especially in my eyes, and we need a little line here as well, because we think there's a bit of a lighter bit just under the eye. Now these are things that I'm now remembering. Now I can't visualize, it's sort of blah, blah, blah. It makes it hard for me to sort of work out quite how to do this, but what I've done is, because I've done tutorials and I've watched videos, then I've got an idea of how to do it. So next we're going to grab our Deco Peach, and this is where we start to blend it together a bit more. So here I'm going to go all the way over the top here in a fairly thick layer actually, but I will still want to fade it off a bit towards the middle. Like that, and you can see we're starting to just fade it down a bit, and here. Now think about the face. Now here, I think the sort of top of the cheekbone here is a bit lighter than the rest, so I'm going to start to just take this colour up a bit here. Now I'm going to leave a little tiny gap, I'm just going to go over that, between the edge of here and where my peach goes up to, because if you think about this bit, it comes to a sort of point almost with that bit dipping in. There's a little light bit there, it just helps to do that. And then you can start to sort of extend this darker area a bit like this. We want the edge a bit darker, and then just sort of starting to leave it to there, so we've got a light bit like that. Still looking very pink, but it's coming. So I'm doing the same on this side. Now this chain would probably have some shadow under it and things like that, but I'm not going to worry about shadow. We are going to put some shadows in as well in a minute, so we'll do that then. Don't worry about it right now. Down the edge here. Now I'm going to try and just bring that up a little bit. Sort of fade up like that. Now this chin is obviously far too white, so we need to just sort of fade it in. Like that. So we haven't got such a defined edge. And then the forehead. So I'm thinking we'll do a darker bit along the top edge. It's going to be a bit of shadow from all of those jewels. Like this, all the way around them. Nothing too tricky at this point. And around the edge. And then I'm thinking it might be a little bit darker on the edges compared to the side. I'm just going to bring that in a bit like that. And the nose, now the nose isn't going to be flat, it's going to be a little bit darker on the edges. There's going to be a lighter bit right in the middle, so just put a little bit each side there and there like that. Now our next colour is our light peach. Now this will, I think this is the light peach, yeah. This will fade her down a bit more. So back down here, applying it on like that. The same here. Now here I want to try and eliminate this sort of harsh line. Just add a bit more in there. And I'm really just going over the top of what I've done already. Just fading and blending, that sort of thing. And we've got a few more colours yet to go. So it takes a bit of time and patience to do. And this one is slightly complicated by all of the bits and bobs going on, but that's okay. It's quite normal for Hannah's pictures to be like this. Okay, now I'm going to use a grey to put in some more shadow. I think a French grey tends to be best. I'm trying to choose how dark to go. I think, no, hang on. Now I'm going to use a warm grey, light. I'm going to use the 50% warm grey. Okay, now the neck is the first place. Where these two meet, we want a line here. We want to almost try to eliminate that black line, so try and colour over it if you can. Oops. And then a bit down here, just a little bit here. Under here I think there'd be more, particularly on the edges, so just gonna extend that down a little bit. And down here a bit. Just apply a gentle touch to sort of scumble it on the edges there. And then have a look and see whether it's looking right. I feel we need a little bit more. And putting grey on skin can feel a bit odd, but if you look at photos, or even at your own hand, look at my hand, there's grey in there. So it is correct. So there's that bit. Now where else? We're going to put a little bit in here. Like that, don't worry, we'll be under here, we'll blend it in a bit. Like that, and a little bit down here. To sort of further exaggerate those areas. Like that. Now I'm going to also use this for some shadows. So I'm going to sharpen it. So I've got some very fine areas. Sorry, I always use a hand crank sharpener for my Prismas. So here, so underneath here, it would be casting a shadow on the face. That's why I've sharpened. You can use your, if you have the big shadow there is one, I think. I'm going to put one above too. If you have a very thin pencil, that might be a bit easier. I find them a bit tricky because they're so hard to use without sort of spoiling the page. Now we're going to also do some shadowing along the edge here, because I think the edge of this hood, I don't know what to call it, headdress, tunic, it's not tunic, I guess hood is the right thing, would be creating some shadow, and we can go all the way around all of these items. It might not show up too well, particularly before we colour them. Now, skin tone is a bit scary, I have to say, but I'm getting more used to it. You just have to keep practicing, and I've now practiced with lots of different sets of pencils, which has helped. So I've even done the skin tone with Staedtler, which aren't really the best for skin tone, because they don't they have the sort of peach, they have a salmon, they have a magenta, and I had to use those three, and I used a lavender. I'm going to use a grey lavender in a minute on here, and a grey, and I was actually quite pleased with how it came out, considering, you know, Staedtler budget pencils, and yet I managed to get something that I was quite happy with. Now I think there'd be a bit of shadow here too, under the lips there. Let's have a look at her. She's coming along, isn't she? Right, so next I'm going to, as I say, use the grey lavender, if I can find it. Where are you? Oh, here it is. This needs a good sharpen, so bear with me. Now what I'm going to use this for is to try and tone in some of the shadows. So I'm going to go over some of these and just scumble them out into the peachy skin tones with this. It also dulls down some of the nectar, which is quite pink. This was actually my niece told me about using grey lavender. So using lavender, I said, you know, what colours do you use for faces? And she said, sometimes I use a purple. I was like, And then I noticed that Chris Cheng used a grey lavender in her video. So I'm putting a fair bit along here. And so I just sort of started trying it and using it. Now when I first used to do faces, I would always white out all of the black. I thought they looked better, but actually I find it quite useful. The black helps you to see what you're doing. So I find it quite useful to keep it there actually. I'm just trying to blend up that dark bit. So it looks a little more defined, and there's a few lines which I don't like, so I'm just sort of getting rid of them, because when you keep layering up Prisma, it almost takes some of the pencil off. You can see it all flaking up, so you can actually quite well change what's there. There we go. And I'm just going to go over this dark red bit again, it just knocks it back a bit. Not that I want to knock it back too much, but, and in here we can just blend that up a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to brush that off and have a proper look. Now often with the face, I'm never quite sure if I'm happy with it or if I think it's finished until I have done the hair. I've got no hair in this particular picture. I've picked one without hair, so that's good. I am going to use the deco pink to just finish off a little bit. Now I often find just a little layer of pink can just make it look slightly less orange. I'm going to go over all of the skin just with a very gentle layer of this. Now I want to make sure that I still keep the shading, so I don't want to press too hard. So we're going to, although we're going to go over all of it, we're going to try to either do a completely even layer or go harder on the bits that are darker so that we don't lose that, as I say, the shading difference. But I just want to go over the beige, because some of these areas are still beige, like on the nose here. I'm just going to put a little bit more on each side. There we go. You don't have to do this last step if you don't want to. It's just me fiddling really, I think. Sometimes little bits of fiddling really makes a difference. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm having fun. I just want to make sure that I haven't got too much beige. That's really my intention here. Just to go over those bits that I haven't really. Now the corners of the eyes we can do with this. Now a big tip for you, if you're doing skin tone for the first time, use a photo as a guide. You know, makes it much easier. I'm going to go over the lips in this. I'm going to put a light layer of this all over. Okay, and then we're going to do them. I enjoy doing this, they're fun. I'm going to get a darker pink. I'm not going to do them too dark. Lips are quite fun because you can do them in any way you want. You can make them look like they're wearing lipstick or it's more natural, it doesn't matter. So this is the blush pink, and I'm going to start to add some shape. So I'm going to do a darker layer all around the edge of the lips, like this, and then in the middle, and then we start to just gently bring it in a bit. We want to leave a slightly lighter area to look like shine on those lips. You can put a few downward strokes through. That's quite pale. I might just add a little bit more. I'm thinking a bit of hot pink. No, this is just pink, sorry. Just a bit of pink. This on those edges. Just darken it around a little bit more. There we go. Now, I have experimented with putting a bit of black shadow across where the lips touch, but I've never managed to make it look nice, so I'm not going to do that this time. Let's do the eyes. Now, the pupil black, as I said before, do this first. Now, these look like moon shapes, but I think what they are is it's there to leave a little white dot in the eye to make it look like there's a little bit of shine. So colour in the moon shape as solidly as you can with black, like that, and then we'll do her actual eye colour. Now I like to do a nice vibrant colour that maybe doesn't look real. What does it matter? I'm going to use the true blue. I think I'm going to give her blue eyes. So here Here we go, True Blue. And I'm going to put a layer of this all over the iris, a light layer. Now, what I tend to do is put a darker circle around the edges. So a darker circle around the pupil and a darker circle around the outside. And then you can start to put some lines in. Like that. And then I'm going to get a darker colour. I'm going to use this one, what's this called? The ultramarine. Really sharp. And just go on top of the black on the outside edge of both, and then some lines out from the centre. Like that. And then we need a little bit of shadow. The eyelids create a little bit of shadow on the eye. So we're going to use a cold grey for this. I'm going to use the cold grey, the 70%, sorry, cool grey. Just sharpen. %, cool grey. And we put a little bit under the eyelid. Like that, just to create a tiny bit of shadow and a little bit along the bottom. Like that. And I'm also going to use a very light grey. This is the 10% grey, to just create a little bit of grey in the corner. I'm just going to smudge it along those lines to sort of slightly blur them and put a bit of grey in the corners. There we go. Now the white shine in the middle, you can use a white pen to make that brighter if you want to. Her eyebrows we're going to do before we finish, and then we'd have done all her facial features. Very hard to know what colour to do that, as she's, you know, we don't see any of her hair. But I think I will go for a brown. It's often I start with a beige actually, so we'll do that. We'll start with the beige, we've got that out anyway. Just go all over it like that. Now, we've got a lot of lines drawn on here already, which I tend to like to try and colour over a bit. Let's go for next the light umber and sharpen it. We want to make sure they stand out from the face, because we've got a lot of light umber, we've got a lot of beige on the face, so I'm going to go over the top. I'm going to try and colour in the direction of the black lines that are drawn on here. And the same on this one. Now, of course, you can do faces and hair in any colour you wish. You don't have to stick to the proper, should we say, in quotes, tones. And sometimes I think it's a bit less scary to actually do a face in a non-typical colour. So if you do a face in blue, I think sometimes it's a little bit easier to work out all the shadows and things compared with doing it, say, in these sorts of tones. This is our dark brown. We're now going to just add some stripes in between those black lines. I'm just going to put some stripes in, and that'll be the eyebrows done. Okay, now I'm going to have a quick look. I feel that her nose isn't quite the right angle because her face is slightly turned and her nose looks straight on, but it's a little bit tricky to quite work out how to correct that. I think maybe actually now I'm going to just take my nectar and just take it in there, the tiniest bit like that, and then go over with the grade lavender to just fill that out. I don't know if that's, no, it looks a bit straight, doesn't it? Like that. There we go. There we go. We'll leave her like that. It's quite tricky, as I say, to get the nose exactly right. I am going to use my, this is the Deco Peach, to just put a little more shadow each side, and then I will stop fiddling and leave her. But there we go. Hopefully that's given you some ideas on how to approach it. So with Hannah, the main things are you have to make the shape of the nose, which is quite tricky, the shape of the chin, the little cleft here, and if you leave a light bit around here, which doesn't look particularly natural always, if the face was completely sideways and there was light coming from behind, it would look like that. But because it's face on, but it helps this shadow then to look better. If you've got that, it just helps to separate the face and the neck a little bit. So that's why I do that, and it helps with the shape and the colour. But there we go, that is my sort of basic skin tone. It's taken, what, 32 minutes to do just the face and eyes and lips as well. But I hope that helps you a little bit thinking about colour choices and things like that. As I say, I used a Chris Chang tutorial to do one, and was it in this book? I think so. Her tutorial was much more detailed. Here you go. Much more detailed, much more layers of colour, actually much more intense and dark. But you can see how dark it is down here. But I feel that this is just a more basic version. It isn't as intense, it isn't as dark, but it gives you some of that shape, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of help in getting you started. But there we go. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that was okay for you. I will come back, let's just show you the whole page there. I will come back and do the rest of the figure. We'll look at the metallics in the crown, and I'm not sure what to do with this. It looks like armour. I've got no idea, but I shall have a think and do something with it. And we'll stick to the Prismas, I expect, even though we've got a lot of fine detail going on, but we'll sort it out. And I'll show you how to do some metallics and things up there, so that'll be, although we did that one here. But there we go. So thank you for watching today. I hope that was okay. I'm hoping that you have a super day. Thank you again. Please like, subscribe and comment. Yeah, and in the description you've got links to all my socials and everything else in case you need it. And if you don't have Prismacolors, in my description I will put a list of comparison charts for Prismacolor for other pencils, so you can substitute the colours if you need to. It's a little more difficult layering up with other pencil brands, but my plan is to eventually do skin tone videos with different brands, but start with Prisma because that's where I'm more confident. But as I say, I will use other ones at different times. But for now, thank you so much. Have a super day. Please take a look at the description, find out what's there for you, and happy colouring.